So this is my show and tell today. This is my little 9-day project. Here's my Xbox controller, and I've got two controls. I can turn, and I can go forward. And this is my show and tell. This is my the beginnings of a little 2D game, and all I can do right now is run into these little asteroids. And that's it. And the asteroids are turning very slowly. And that's my show and tell.
How difficult is it to hook up
To the controller? With Bevy, I had to turn the controller on.
You had to connect to your laptop.
Oh, that's right.
Not minimize.
I had to connect to the laptop, which for Apple was going to the Bluetooth menu and clicking on it. So it wasn't bad. Oh, well, I mean, to be fair, I did have to hold this button right here to set the controller in pairing mode. And then it blinked.
That's so many steps.
It is a lot of steps. Well, and then here, since we're doing show and tell, and this is all about Rust, here's my gamepad system. Okay, so this is Bevy. This is like setting up my ECS stuff. And you can see I was rapidly prototyping, so I was commenting stuff out and trying different things. But when it came down to it, there's my control code for my gamepads. So not too bad. I just hooked them up to physics using the Rapier 2D Bevy plugin. And so with the gamepads, I calculated my force going forward and my torque for turning. And then I just threw that over the physics system, and it took care of the actual movement and collision detection. So, although, to be fair, this, which one was it? One of these somewhere, one of the turning things, I got distracted for like 3 of my quote unquote days, contributing to the Leafwing input manager, some turning code and stuff like that, and access code. The rest of the game code? So this is all of it. This file is all of it. So there's 77 lines of it. So let's see, here's like initialization and like tying all the systems into the game engine. Here's some constants for like layers and sprite size. I've got this asteroid component that asteroids just rotate at a fixed velocity, and that's set by that attribute right there. I've got a marker component for a player, so I can tell which sprite is the player. I attach that component to them. I don't know if you noticed, but my little flames had 3 different levels, tiny, small, and medium. So depending on how far I'm pushing forward on the stick, it has different little flames. Here's like the thrust event for like which direction am I thrusting in so that I can take that over to the physics and apply it. Here's my setup code. So this is the code for, hey, or this one line makes it so that if I change a sprite on disk, it notices and reloads it in the live game. So that's really, really nice for rapid prototyping when you're working on the graphics. That's the line for setting up my 2D camera in Bevy. And then it gets more complicated. So like this is the player ship from here down to here. And the bulk of it is those 3 different flames. So there's the 3 different flames. Each one of them takes a big thing like this. So I have to know where to load the image in, where it is relative to the parent sprite, whether it's visible or not. If they're not, because by default, you're not going yet. And then rinse and repeat for the 3 different sizes. Plus the things like the marker component for he's the player, and the physics setup. And yeah. And then down here here's the medium asteroid. So I set him up. Here's the sprite image that we use. Here's where he's going to be. Here's how big he's going to be. Here's the interaction with the physics plugin. I'm saying he's kinematic, which means that you control him. You don't give him forces and he goes off. He's kinematic. You control him in the physics system. And then this here is setting up 2 triangles for the colliders. So I got, this actually took a long time, just like guessing the different coordinates and stuff. And there's this nice debug renderer for physics. If we run that, and you can see those 2 triangles on each of my asteroids. Come on.
So it would be a lot harder to have the collision detection based on the actual sprite.
I don't know how to make it.
Fair enough.
So yeah, the physics system takes triangles, so or polygons or the tessellates.
Oh, yeah, so you have to test it.
Actually, no. I think it only takes triangles. What does it take? Physics system, asteroid. Oh yeah, there's different kinds of colliders. And since I was just starting out, I chose the triangle and I made triangles. So each of these has, see those yellow ones? Those are the colliders that I made.
So you could drive the ship around and it would not collide except on the triangle.
Yeah, it only actually collides on that yellow triangle. I just got it close enough that it was good enough for prototyping. Right? And then you notice the flames, they're not part of the physics systems. Right? And the collider for the ship is, you can't see it because it's so overlapping the edge of the ship, but there's a rectangle around the ship for its own collider. And those greens are the bounding boxes, and I'd turn those off if I could, but I haven't found an option for that.
So can we transition to a landing crew and board one of the?
Oh, I want to do something like that. I'm not sure where I'm going with the game, but I would love to do stuff like that. The TLDR for my game concept is, how can I make a Stardew Valley-like game in an asteroid field where I'm like farming the asteroids or something, and that's about as far as I got. So, so yeah. Why did I choose Bevy? I feel like it's the most promising Rust game engine right now. So the other real big one, like I want to learn a game engine really well. I want it to be in Rust, and I want to be able to use it for all of my projects. So Bevy is a general purpose game engine, so it does 3D and 2D. It has a huge community, lots of inertia. It's got a benevolent dictator for life who works full time on it, and so I just really like it. I've been a contributor for a while now. There's some other prominent ones like MacroQuad and Fyrox and stuff, but they all have their own pros and cons and what they're aiming for and what capabilities they have. And Bevy is what I chose, what I like.
So how was the experience with this game? I mean,
So far,
it might be biased.
so good. Well, I mean, when I started doing the gamepad stuff, first I used the raw gamepad stuff in Bevy, and it was a little bit bigger, and like I wanted to be able to combine to use the keyboard or the gamepad or a mouse or like different input modes and have it combine it. And I didn't want to write all that myself because that would be really annoying. So I went around and looked, and I found an input manager plugin called Leafwing for Bevy. And so I started using that, and it did everything except for it didn't support analog axes on gamepads yet. So I was able to do everything I wanted except for like literally the thing that I started with. So I went and helped. My friend actually started working on Axis Input before I even went and looked. And then he finished that up, and I helped polish it. And then there was some turning stuff that wasn't quite right. And so I contributed to fix to that. So like, it's very alpha. Like there's a lot of missing pieces. Bevy doesn't have an editor. It's only Rust source code, right? It's under rapid development. Every 3 months they have a big release, and they break lots of stuff and improve lots of stuff. But I really like their roadmap. They've been on a really good they've been focused first a lot on the ECS, and then lately, the last couple of releases, they focused on the deep rendering subsystem and like really meshing it together with their ECS and stuff. And they're like moving upwards from there, going on this logical progression. And they're going to have an editor, and they're going to have skeletal animation systems and all that kind of stuff. Like it depends on what you mean by added, right? Like, yeah, they built some of it. But, I mean,
What IDE are you using here?
this is just VS Code. Yeah.
Use it with the supply thing.
No, custom thing based on Monakai. Yeah. Yeah, I heavily customized the colors, but I started from that old Sublime theme years ago. Yeah. Good days, huh? All right. Well, did any more questions or anything like that? We went over almost all of the code. Oh,
I think that's crazy that it's 275, like, for the line to do it. Like, that's nuts.
yeah, it's not bad.
But when you have like an engine or something, like, it does so much of the heavy lifting. So.
Yeah. Well, and Rapier is a really good game engine, physics for game engines package, and they write their own Bevy plugins. You know, so I was able to get physics for free.
I think that's one of the things I like most about it. Like, I haven't really used it much, but the fact that it's so plug-in driven.
Yeah.
is really nice.
Yeah.
Because there's all sorts of libraries that aren't part of the game engine itself that you can plug in as it goes, and you get all the value of the community that's really focused on that.
Yeah.
It's not coupled to the actual Bevy system, and if somebody wants to make a new one that's even better, you can just drop it
Exactly.
and swap to it. It doesn't require a Bevy update.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah. In fact, when I polish this up, I'll take my own code and package it into my own plugins just for organization's sake. I've done that on past Bevy projects. Okay, cool. We should give someone else a chance here.